Hi all, welcome back. Alex Simpson from Apex Racing UK back for another setup tutorial video. This one going to be a little bit short this week. We're again pushed on time and we had some problems getting the stream up and going, so just a quick little half an hour one. We're going to look at aerodynamics today we've got Road America, so ideal track as well, nice and quick. Cam Stark will be keeping an eye on the chat. Got any questions for me? Just just drop them in there. I'll try and answer them as quickly as possible if we can. Let's try and keep it on cue with the aero. But if not, it doesn't really matter. Just ask away. It's not being promoted on the banner again, so we're going to have limited people. But of course, it will go up on YouTube, on iRacing, and on Apex Racing TV afterwards. So. I've done a bit of a blue Peter, and I've gone and created a couple of setups in advance just because I know that we have limited time. So yeah, let's jump to the sim, and we'll start from there. I've had to switch to my GoPro because, well, frankly, the frame rates were rubbish at Motegi, and I could barely drive the car, spinning all over the place. So, sounded like a good excuse. Yeah, so that's what we've done. Right, just to confirm everything again, so this is default weather, 20% track state. I'm going to share the setup at the end of the stream on the Apex Racing UK website with iSpeed, Motec, lap file data, so you can race against my optimals, all that sort of stuff. So that'll be available for you. It's going to take me a few hours or so just to get it all up there and ready. But yeah, so just to sort of carry on from where we were last week, because we really looked at tyres in a little bit of detail. So we've looked at cambers, we've looked at pressures, we roughly know how to set those up now and what we should be doing. So I have a couple of baselines. So I'm going to run the very first one. So this is the baseline setup with the tweaked pressures and tweaked cambers. So that's already done. So I'm going to run some foundation laps just to get some data. And we'll go from there. I can share this setup as well so you know what it come from, but literally all I've done is the tyre pressures, because you can't see them quite as well now with the GoPro. So 142.7 on the front left, 146.2 on the front right, rear right is 136.5 and 133.1 for those of you that run it in old language. 20.7 psi on the front left, 22.2 psi on the front right, 19.8 rear right, and 19.3 rear left. That should give me a hot pressure around about, I think it is the 144. So again, what you'll need to do is find out where your ideal hot pressure is. So do some runs, see where you start to pick up time. Is it better slightly higher, slightly lower? It's going to be different for every single driver depending on how you drive, where you want a bit of extra grip or where you don't need it. Again, if it's struggling in the slow speeds, then you're going to end up going down. If it's high speed, you're going to probably need to go up. So yeah, that should give you a good idea. And again, remember what I said about the cambers last week. If you haven't seen it, go and check the videos out there on iRacing's YouTube so you can understand what I'm talking about with the cambers as well. So default, I've got aero trim. So let's talk about aero then. I am on high downforce at Road America. Yep. You would think of one of the tracks that you're going to run sort of medium downforce for, then you would think this would probably be it. It's certainly not going to be low downforce. The only track where we are going to run low downforce is going to be Monza. Nowhere else. So why have I gone for high downforce as opposed to medium downforce? Well, once you get the set sort of in a reasonable place, you can carry that much more speed through the corners than you can on a medium, and you are slightly quicker overall in the lap time. It's not a great deal that you can sort of compete with both, and we saw that last season. You can run medium downforce, but you tend to be a little bit slower. And now the way the tyres wear out a little bit quicker, you want the extra little bit of life out of the tyre, and the mediums will just heat up the tyres a little bit more because it's going to be dancing around in the corners throughout the race stint. And if we're don't really want to pit here if you can help it, it's a big old long pit lane, so as much support on the tyres you can get, the better. But I think you'll generally get a couple of tenths of a second quicker out of high downforce once you get the settings right. So High downforce trim, base flap starts off at 14 and I'm going max wicker. Why am I not going low wicker? Well, this car really suffers when you start to put the wicker down, and if you're on high downforce, you're all in kind of thing, and you seem to get the best times out of it. So my advice to everyone really is start off with the max wicker and then work your way down. Get your front flap and wing level settings correct, so that the car's not too snappy or anything like that, and you've got the right sort of straight line speed that you want out of it before you start to take off wicker levels. And then what you can do is you can use the aero calculator that's a bit further down below. Now, again, I apologize that you can't quite see this as well as you will have done on the previous streams, but what you're really looking at is once you've got a sweet spot on your aero package. Like I say, I'm going to do some laps in a minute, and I've got another setup where it's got some adjustments in there, and I'll show you the difference. So what you have here is your ride height at speeds. Now you can get those from Motec. So just go to the ride height page or tab on Motec, and what you're looking for is the ride heights that you are as you're approaching the corners or through the corners. That will give you your Aero Balance. Now I will be honest, if you want to know exactly what the front downforce percentage is, you need to go and get that data. But for the purpose of just knowing a percentage figure and knowing if you can get that same percentage figure back once you start to change the wicker levels, you don't need to adjust these, you just need to pay attention to the front downforce. Now, if you're on ovals, the downforce to drag becomes very important because obviously you want maximum downforce, minimum drag. But again, we're not too concerned about that, although drag does have an effect, especially when we've got 3 long straights to worry about. So right here, let's just go bank some laps out, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. I will just get some base times, and then we'll go from there, and I can say how the car's feeling with just the tyre pressures and cambers adjusted. Cam, Formula Renault obviously up next again. We just spoke a moment ago, you're at Phillip Island. What's racing going to be like there? I mean, a little bit longer straights, are we expecting big draft packs? A bit like Spa, or...?
Well, you'd be able to break draft, because drafts now, like, you're in draft if you're 0.6, but as soon as you drop out of 0.6, it's much tougher to keep up, because like the Star Mazda, obviously, with 1.5 you could keep up easily. With this car, you've got to be like 0.4 behind to really get a nice slipstream to overtake, so it's going to be a tougher track now to keep up at than it used to be, that's for sure.
Oh, well, that'll be better anyway. That was the only thing with the Star Mazda, wasn't it? Is that you could be a half a second a lap slower and still keep there. So
it's a good track, though. I mean, I think myself and a lot of people are happier that the draft isn't as overpowered. I mean, even if, like at Spa, in the Star Mazda, even though I wasn't as quick, I wouldn't be able to keep up. Whereas this time, as soon as I was out of draft, I wasn't able to keep up. I dropped a tenth or two a lap, and that's it. Just got to find those extra 2 tenths, which is key, you know.
Yeah, indeed. So what I'm looking for on these scout laps really is just how the car reacts in the sort of the medium and high speed corner, because that's really where the aeros come into play. It does a little bit in the slow speed, but is more about the mechanical balance than anything. But yeah, medium speed corners, high speed aero, massive impact. And I can already feel it's a little bit skittish in some of the high-speed corners. So the kink, I was really concerned about the back end, and that is on absolute fresh set of tyres. So you can imagine what it's going to be like after 10 or 15 laps. They're going to be dancing all over the place. Do a couple of laps, we'll set a time, see where we're at. Just for your reference, I'm on obviously fixed mode number 7 again. So I always use that to build the sets because it just gives you a consistent amount of vigor. If you want to obviously run consistently lower, that's fine, but I wouldn't advise sort of changing it up and down through the lap. Though you can do that as an option. It's easier to build a set around a static figure, so you know you've not just changed it a little bit later than you have, or a little bit earlier, and that's why you've got an optimal sector. Road America, without that carousel, that's pretty tricky. There's a nasty dip there that we'll need to figure out. And it's not nice through the kink, I can tell you that. Lost a lot of time there. Sort of throws itself into that corner as well. You know, like always, the default not bad. You know, there's much to be improved, but unlike the old baseline setups that were just, you know, horrible, iRacing really have done a good job. Once you get the tyre pressure sorted out, anyway. Of course, I've already done that, which does make it a whole chunk more drivable. I don't even think they changed the pressures, did they, on the setups based on the update? They just left them the same? Can't remember.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked the MP4-30 to be fair on the baseline.
No, it should give us an idea. So yeah, definitely a couple of corners we've got a bit too much turn. 0.2, that's pretty lousy as far as the time goes. Okay, so yeah, the problem seems to be more in the high speed section corners than anything. Medium, not too bad. So initially I obviously want to sort out the high speed stuff. Now, okay, so I talked about the front downforce percentage earlier on. What we're going to pay attention to now. So if you adjust the whole setting, now it could be the front flap, it could be the wing angle on other cars or anything like that, you know, aero dependent cars, you'll notice that this front percentage is going to drop. And that is the amount of downforce you've got on the front of the car compared to the back of the car. So the sort of, where I think of it more as where it is on the car, where the sort of center point is on the car. Obviously, if it's more towards the rear, then you're going to have a lower front percentage. If it's more towards the front, then you're going to have a higher percentage. Now, you're always going to run with a lower, under 50%. I can't think of anywhere you would run over 50%. I've never seen it. The car would be absolutely undrivable. It's just not, they're not set up like that. And you're never going to have a huge variation. We're talking maybe 2 or 3% at most. But what you will change is as you change your ride height at speeds, that figure will change quite a bit as well. So you can just either leave it as the default and just use it as information based, so you know what you are if you're adjusting things later on. Like I say, like the IndyCar oval guys, they will use this way more than what we will, but they need to get every last little ounce of speed out of their car, so they'll go into way more. So I am going to go down a fair chunk. Now, like I say, I've already done some work on a setup, so I'm going to quickly load that one in, which has some adjustments to it, and I'm going to explain why I've changed these things first. So let me just load up that phase 2. So what you can't see is the ride height at speeds. I haven't changed that at all. The front downforce percentage is now 45.86, and all I've done is gone from 14 down to 11 on the aero. on the front. That will make it, I'm going to give it a run, that will make it way more stable through the kink, through that tricky uphill left-hander that's sort of medium to high speed-ish. And it'll be a little bit more stable through the carousel as well. And coming out of the first and the second corners as well, because it's just not got too much front area where it just wants to carry on turning. It's just turning too much. Now, I've also done something else with the setting as well. When we're talking about tracks with long straight line, we want to obviously try and maximize straight line speed. And there's something else that we can do about that as well. We have a natural rake in the car, and that will affect your straight line speed also. Now, if your car is really stiff at the back, see my hand, when you're going down the straight, the back end's not going to squat down or anything like that. It's just sort of going to stay up there. And then of course you have a certain amount of air hit the car, the rear wing, and that will slow it down as well. Now, if you have less rake, for example, so the car's like this, then it goes through the air quicker, so you reduce the drag. Now, if you've got reduced drag, then you're going down the straights faster, and that's basically lap time. Now, of course, there's obviously a downside to just lowering the rear end, is that you will also change the balance of the car somewhat going into the corner, so you'll get reduced load on the front of the car, but you'll also have more downforce on the back of the car. So there's two ways you can do it. I've taken drag off of the front, so obviously I've got less wing angle, so think of this as the front wing. So I've got less angle, so obviously it's a bit slippier that way. And so I'm going to go faster because of that anyway. So what you've got to think of, there's two things you can think of. So you can try the front wing, yeah, or you could try reducing the rake as well. Both will have an impact on how the car handles the corners, and will give you more straight line speed. Now, for this particular setup, I've left it with the default ride heights and just gone with the front wing. But what I have done, which is slightly different, because car is also a tiny bit twitchy going into some of the slow speed stuff, which is mechanical, so I have dropped the rear heave. Now, this was also on a shared set in the community last season as well, so I think it was the AB Racing guys. They were great all season and shared their sets as well. And on the Road America one, they did exactly the same thing as well, and they dropped their heave down to 0. Now, what that does is it's much softer, so it drops under load. As the air hits it, it pushes the car further down, which makes it, again, less rake, so more slippy, so more straight line speed, so they get an advantage that way. But of course, once you brake, you've still got a high enough ride height at the back that the car will poke back up again, so you're still carrying a fair amount of ride height going into the corner, so you still have Aero Balance to help turn the car. So again, it's all got to be fine-tuned, and really, excuse me, there's no way to there's not a real way in Motec to say, right, I want the perfect rake. What is it? There's no way to tell that. All you can see is you can adjust different settings in the Motec workbook. You can look at, if I bring that up on screen, find that. Here we go. This is what you want. So from the workbook, Peter Chamberlain's one, go into the ride height section, and then you can see your rake angle here. I'm looking a bit confused because I just make sure I am talking about the right thing. Or better. Loads of different settings that you can use, but yeah, that is the right one. Okay, and that's on the ride height as well. So there's the roll section or the pitch section as well that you can go into, but it's just, again, I just settings. So you will notice there is a percentage. You know, I have got some rate going down there because obviously the front ride height is 25 mil and the rear is 110. So you're always going to get that, but that figure will be a lot less with a rear heave at 0 compared to what it will be at if it's on, say, like 50 or something like that. That will be poking up in the air a lot more. So that's how you keep an eye on where your rake levels are. So you can adjust different settings and see it and go, okay, my rake's actually less now. Does the car feel any better? So it's a lot of trial and error to make the car do what you want it to do. Remember, all of this is about getting it right for you. You know, I set up, as I talked about in some of my other videos, getting the setup to feel good for you is what it's all about. Not necessarily what somebody else feels great for. It's all about got to feel good for you. So bit of trial and error. Now, when I did this to 0, I gained a lot of straight line speed, and you'll see this in my relative in a moment when I get on it. But what happened was I didn't have enough mid corner rotation. It was too much. I'd gone too far. So I changed one other thing to do that, and that was I just moved the ballast backwards. Again, I'm going to share the set so you're going to see that. So that gives you the mid-corner rotation. And also, because it's a bit further backwards, it'll make the car sit a little bit lower at the back as well. But that's how I got the turn back. Now, I could have gone up on the torsion bars, but again, that would have made it stiffer, so it wouldn't have sat down so low on the straights. Or you could go up on the rear anti-roll bar. That won't make it any stiffer, it won't make it stay up in the air, so that's just another way of doing it. But I just decided I'll just go with the ballast. So, right, let's give this setup a little run. Hope that makes some sense as to what I'm talking about with the aero. But there's, like I say, I just need to sort of repeat. Oh, I need to change the camera over, don't I? To repeat, there's no way in the sort of the garage or in Motec or anything like that that's going to give you what the perfect aero balance is. You're gonna have to, I'm afraid, do the legwork and test it yourself. And you know, for a race set, you're going to want to know what the aero balance needs to be, say after 15-20 laps. In a Q set, obviously, you know, that's pretty easy to get it right, but of course the tyres wear at different rates at different tracks. Could be front limited track or rear limited track. So tracks with rear limited, of course, you're going to want to have a little bit less front percentage so that it's not oversteery at the end. Front limited tracks, obviously, you're going to want a little bit more so that you're not understeering going into sort of like medium speed corners and that. So right, let's just do a couple of laps here. As a screen cam, a bit quiet by the sound of it.
Yeah, it's a bit quiet. Didn't really think well, ask me any questions. Just a couple of comments in the chat just now. Once we get the yellow banner up top, it'll be a bit busier, I'm sure.
We'll get it back next week.
Yeah.
I know that I know iRacing are uploading these each week, so if anyone's got any questions to ask on the YouTube, I'll keep an eye on their ones as well and answer any questions you've got in there. Right, instantly you can see the extra straight line speed kicking in, the delta bar just going green in a straight line. Haven't lost any rotation. Not the greatest of exits, but what we will see is that will start to go green again anyway. It does, it picks back up, so it just goes to show you just gain it. That's how you can gain some speed.
Let me know when you finish your lap.
Yep. much more stable through the kink now. I was able to keep my foot a lot firmer in it, not completely. Well, I think that lap time pretty much proof in itself. Just having the right aero, how the aero balance can affect. So obviously what I did was just go down on the wing. So again, it's just a case of, say, a bit of trial and error that has to stick in. Cam, I finished the lap, so if there's any questions.
Okay, well, some guy just said, could the engine noise be turned down a bit and the music turned off so Alex's voice is easier to hear?
Okay. Well, the music's probably stopped now, isn't it? I forgot to turn the music thing off.
But no, I got the stream muted so I don't hear two of you like twice at different times. Get confused.
When I'm in the car, I'm not saying much useful stuff anyway. As you know, I can't talk and drive anyway.
For Ferenc asks, he says the rake and diffuser always play together. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't talk and drive, lost some time. Doesn't matter, I'm going to put it in anyway this time. Yeah, I'm going to put it in this time anyway.
Well, he asks, I mean, is it possible that the diffuser works worse with the wrong rake?
I guess the way you need to think about it is the diffuser's always kind of doing its thing. We don't have like ground effect on the car because we have a dirty big plank stuck underneath it, so we're not. It's stopping the middle of the car being sucked down to the ground, but of course the diffuser's doing its thing. You've seen in F1 now, they're kind of designed to be poked up in the air. This is why this car, now our WCS setups, we're a lot higher than we ever were in the old car. There may be some that have decided to run a low rear end, but I really haven't found huge advantage from it, I have to say. Sorry, it doesn't really answer the question, does it? So, but I mean, as far as rear ride heights go, there's nothing wrong with the default rear ride height in and around that range. I have run ride heights higher, I've run them lower. Again, it's all just finding that right balance for you with what you want from mechanical turn and what you want from aerodynamic turn. Of course, the more it pokes up in the air, the more you'll get aerodynamic, but the more draggy it will be. But yeah, so like I say, it very much is trial and error. For friends, I'll go into more detail on an Academy stream when we get to the aero stuff. And I can say a bit more there. Of course, if you want to learn more as well, we go into a lot more detail on our own ones as well. So these are just sort of meant to get you going in the right direction. Just got a couple of minutes really now. Before we hand over to you, Cam. So yeah, is there any other questions? I mean, as far as the lap time goes, I mean, you could see the difference there. I mean, the first lap was probably a bit shoddy, if I'm honest. It probably could have been about 40 dead, maybe a 39.9. I've just done a 39.5 there. So, and that's just because the car was way more easier to drive. I wasn't having to correct it or be a little bit nervous on the gas pedal because it was just a bit snappy coming out of corners or through like the kink and stuff like that. I mean, we gained 2/10 coming out of the carousel down through the kink. We had all that extra straight line speed. Not only were we able to get more speed, but because we could keep the gas a little bit wider open without having to save the car, we had even more speed. So just where the aero comes in. So Yeah, what I will talk about very quickly before we hand it over to you, Cam, is on this particular setup, you'll see it when you get hold of it. I'll share both of them. This has got a front downforce percentage of 45.86. Now, if you wanted to try lower wicker, so you can say, right, okay, let's sacrifice a little bit more downforce off the rear of the car. Now, you can get that back by going lower again. If you do adjust your ride heights, that's when you have to adjust your ride height at speed, because you have to go down the percentage. Well, so if you go down 2 mil, a rough guesstimate would be to take the ride height at speeds down 2 mil. It doesn't exactly work out like that, but it gives you a pretty close enough. But yeah, so if you just want to do a straight on test with different wicker and different front flap settings, so let's just for example go down to 15, right? What that instantly does is put it back to 46.24. So we're looking at a 45.86 beforehand. So let's go down. What did I say it was? Can't remember now. 45.86. Okay. So if we go down on the front flap 1 to 10 and down on the rear flap 15, we get 45.90. That's pretty close to the same percentage. Now that will give you a little bit more straight line speed again, but you'll lose a little bit of mid corner speed because you actually have slightly less downforce overall. But again, that's how you would do it. A lot of people will suddenly just go, oh, let me just go down on the wicker. And what you've actually done is you've gone massively up on the front end, so the car will be all over the shot again. It'll be very similar to the default aero balance. So yeah, if you go down on the wicker, you need to go down on the front flap setting, or the front, if it's a different car, so it's wing angle percentage. If you go down on that, you've got to go down on the front. Use the front downforce percentage to keep the balance in check, so that you know if it's like, okay, so I've got less drag. I haven't lost so much downforce that the car's losing speed through the corners. This is just better. Common mistake is just to go down at one at a time. You want to find a balance and then go down even until you get absolutely the perfect setting. Now with the McLaren, there's not a great deal of settings that we can do. We've got 4 to choose from, so it's pretty easy to tell where you need to be. Now on things like the Star Mazda and things like that, and the IndyCar, there is loads of settings, so it takes some time. So again, you get that front percentage, you'll go up and down evenly. Try and keep that percentage in until you get to a point where all of a sudden you start going slower. Obviously, if you go slower from the word go, then try going the other direction. Right, I hope that gives you guys an idea on aerodynamics. I'm going to share this set with the optimals, the replay, the iSpeed, the telemetry from this session as well, just so you can see what I was at. 66 kilos of fuel. I don't think you're going to need that for the race. It'll be slightly less, but I'll leave you to work that out using iSpeed or Motec or whatever it is you do. Any questions before I head off?
One more. Talking about ride heights, Ferenc asks, do you only adjust for front ride height for not butting out, or is it also possible to reduce the rate with a higher front?
Yeah, exactly. You can reduce the ride height with the front end as well. So if say for example you think, oh, it's just not quiet, that I've still got just a little bit too much aero, but taking off a click of wing is gives you too little, then you could just go up 0.5 mil, say for example on the front end. That would also reduce the rake as well. So not only would that give you a slightly better aero balance, but it would also give you a little bit more straight line speed as well. And same principles again. A stiffer front end won't poke down, won't dip down into the track so much on a straight line. So that will give you better straight line speed. So there was a time in the old car where we run everything pretty much maxed out. Like I think it was 150 torsions, maximum heave, and minimum rear ride heights. And we just wanted the car just basically angled like a bullet so we could go as fast as possible, because we were able to get the turn mechanically. So, but yeah, that should work. Anything else?
Let me check. Is someone else, just I think this would be the final question, doesn't the dynamic ride heights and therefore rate change if you increase the wicker by 1 step and the front wing by 1 as well?
It will do slightly. That's something you can keep an eye on your Motec data. I think you could sort of sit there and chase after those settings all day long and trying to get them absolutely perfect. So you can get an exact like for like. You'll know as soon as you jump in the car if you just tweak your rear wicker and then tweak the front wicker to match it. You'll know straight away whether or not it's better. You'll be like, oh, am I quicker? Am I slower? How much quicker? How much slower? Is there areas of the track which are better and areas that are worse? Is it worth pursuing? If if you're just losing time all over straight away, but getting a tiny little bit of an advantage in a straight line, then it's probably not worth doing. But if you can see some potential, then you can go and have a quick look at the rake angles. Now, of course, with a less of a wicker, you're right, it won't be poking down quite so much, so you could probably just drop the ride heights a couple of points of a mil. I mean, that's about what we're talking about, really. It's not going to be huge, but you can check that in the data and compare it and see how it works. But I personally won't do that. I won't go that far in. I'll know straight away off of the aero whether it's not there. All you're talking about is a little bit of straight line speed, and if you haven't gained enough straight line speed for it to be worthwhile, you'll know pretty quickly.
That's it for the questions then.
Awesome, right, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. As before, it'll go on YouTube. Bit of a short one this time because we got going a bit late. Next week, I'm not even sure where we're at next week. Somewhere.
Yeah, some track.
Yeah. We'll take a look at basic suspension next week. And then I think after that we'll go into like dampers and things like that. So I know this is a bit rough around the edges, but really that's just there just to get you going, just to get you on the basics. We can go into so much detail and you just get lost with it in the end. Really, you're better off just sort of coming in and having an actual chat to get more out of it, I think. So, all right, Cam, let me know when you're ready and I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, streams up and stuff. Hopefully it just doesn't randomly stop like last week. Would be a good start. Yeah, up and running.
And what's your name again? It's like II Cam, isn't it? Something like that.
There you go. IN Cam.
Yep. It's no worries. I've seen the message thanking me. Right, I'm going to shut this off. Thanks, guys. Yeah, Cam's stream should be coming up now. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask me on PM or jump on the Apex forum, post in there. There's that free community area that we've put up as well for this season. So, we're all happy just to give a bit of advice and whatnot in there. So, all right, Cam, it's up now. So I'll be off, but I'll jump over to your channel in a second.
Okay.